Look at her, sitting across the kitchen from you on an ordinary morning. She's drinking her coffee. She's scrolling through her phone. She looks calm. She looks fine. You've been married long enough that this scene is so familiar, it doesn't even register as a scene anymore. Just Tuesday. Just coffee. Just the woman you've shared a life with for years. What I want to tell you is that there's a possibility you have to be willing to consider, even though it's the hardest possibility there is. She may have already decided. The decision may have been made months ago, maybe years ago, and the morning you're sitting in right now, this calm, ordinary, completely unremarkable morning, might be one of the last few hundred you'll share before she says the words that you, statistically, will describe as coming out of nowhere. The American Association of Retired Persons published a study some years ago that asked divorced people whether they had seen the divorce coming. 26% of men said they hadn't. Only 14% of women said the same. Almost twice as many husbands as wives reported being blindsided by the end of their marriage. That gap is one of the most consistent findings in divorce research, and it isn't a coincidence. It reflects something specific. By the time a woman in a long marriage says the words, she has almost always been preparing, emotionally, logistically, psychologically, for somewhere between 2 and 7 years. This video is going to walk you through 7 things that happen, in a specific sequence, between the moment a woman in a long marriage stops actively trying to save it and the moment she sits her husband down to tell him. By the end, I'll give you a diagnostic, 3 specific questions you can answer alone in the next 10 minutes that will tell you with surprising accuracy what stage your marriage is in and how much time you actually have. That 7th layer is the most important one. Stay until the end. Before we go further, none of this is meant to make you panic. Some of this video may describe nothing about your marriage at all. The signals always cluster. One of them on its own is just life. 5 or 6 of them together is something else. So listen carefully. Don't react. Don't go check her phone or her texts the moment you finish watching. The whole point of what you're going to hear is that confrontation is exactly the wrong move at every single stage. Let me explain why. The first thing you have to understand is the timeline. Most men think a divorce is the result of a decision a woman makes near the end of a marriage. The research tells us something completely different. Michele Weiner-Davis, a couples therapist who spent decades working with the specific phenomenon she calls walkaway wives, identifies a path that almost every woman who eventually leaves a long marriage walks. It has 4 stages. Stage 1. Active protest. She fights. She complains. She demands change. She asks you to come to therapy with her. Stage 2. Escalating despair. She's still fighting, but her voice is changing. Her complaints have become repetitive. She cries more. She tells her sister. Stage 3. Building a separate life. She stops fighting. She quietly starts assembling the infrastructure of a life that doesn't include you. Stage 4. Numbness. The exit is no longer a question. The only thing left is timing. What Weiner-Davis found in her clinical work, and what couples researchers have confirmed repeatedly since, is that the internal divorce, the emotional, psychological one, precedes the legal divorce by 2 to 7 years. By the time she actually says the words, she's already grieved the marriage. She's already gone through what attachment theorists call anticipatory grief. She's done crying for you. She's done crying for the version of herself who once believed this would work. There's a sentence couples therapists who work in this area use that I want you to hear clearly. She grieved before she ever asked for a divorce. Read that again, slowly, because if it lands, you'll understand why the second piece is so important. You may be wondering, if she went through years of grief, why didn't she tell me? Why didn't she fight harder? Why didn't she scream at me until I understood? Here's the answer. She did. You just didn't recognize it. There's a sequence first mapped by John Bowlby, the British psychiatrist who originated attachment theory, and refined later by Sue Johnson, the developer of emotionally focused therapy. The sequence describes how any deeply attached human being responds to the prolonged loss of connection from someone they love. It has 3 phases: protest, despair, detachment. In the protest phase, the loss feels intolerable. The person fights, demands, escalates. She is the woman who picks fights you don't understand. who cries about things you think are small, who keeps trying to get you to look up from the world you've drifted into. That woman, in her protest, is in the deepest possible love with you. Her fight is the proof. In the despair phase, the protest doesn't work. The fighting hasn't reached you. The crying hasn't reached you. She begins to give up, not on you yet, but on the possibility that anything she does can change what's happening between you. This is the phase where the complaints get repetitive, where she circles back to the same three things, where she's gone quieter in some places and louder in others, more erratic, more frustrated. In the detachment phase, the system shuts down. She withdraws emotional investment, not as a punishment, as an act of self-preservation. Her attachment to you is, neurologically speaking, deactivating. Her brain has finally accepted what her heart resisted for years, that she is alone inside the marriage, and that no amount of effort on her part is going to change it. The detachment phase looks, from the outside, like peace, like calm, like a woman who finally got herself together. And this misreading is the single most consequential error men make in long marriages. Most husbands begin to relax exactly when they should be alarmed. If you're listening and starting to feel something move inside you, pause, take a breath. I want you to hear this clearly before we keep going. You are not a bad man for not having known any of this. You weren't taught it. Your father wasn't taught it. The culture you grew up in didn't equip you to read this code. The fact that you're sitting here right now, listening to a stranger explain what was happening underneath the surface, is the most important first step there is. Most men never even get this far. The window is not closed. We're going to talk about the window. The third thing happening while she was moving through those stages is that signals were being sent. A lot of them. You missed them not because they weren't there, but because they didn't look like signals to you. The research, taken together, shows that what's actually diagnostic isn't any single signal. It's the cluster. There are 7 specific categories of signals that, when they appear together, almost always indicate stage 3 or 4. In the emotional category, she stopped fighting, stopped complaining, stopped crying after fights, stopped reaching for repair. Her tone shifted from emotional to collegial. Please, thank you, good morning. Without touch, without warmth. In the communicative category, she stopped telling you about her day. The small talk disappeared. Pet names vanished. Inside jokes died. The emojis dropped out of her texts. She started calling you by your full name. She started writing to you the way she writes to a colleague. In the social category, a new best friend appeared, often divorced. Her emotional disclosures stopped being yours and started being someone else's. She went to events alone. She stopped including you in her plans. She archived joint photos online, not deleted, archived. Her social media avatar changed to a solo image taken somewhere you've never been. In the family category, the kin-keeping stopped. She stopped calling your mother, stopped remembering your father's birthday, stopped coming to your family events. In parallel, your mother-in-law's voice changed when you talked to her, because her clan has already been told something you haven't been told yet. In the financial category, she became suddenly interested in mortgages, property structure, tax filings. She opened a separate account that she didn't tell you about right away. She started moving money slowly. Family law attorneys uniformly call this information gathering. Bankrate reports that 42% of married people hide financial secrets from their partner. Among women preparing to leave, the percentage is significantly higher. In the digital category, new password. Phone face down. Phone in the bathroom. Notifications turned off on the lock screen. Subscriptions to divorce lawyers. Pinterest boards titled Apartment for One. Researchers studying online identity curation before divorce announcements have documented a consistent pattern. The shift in digital self-presentation begins 6 to 12 months before the conversation with the husband. In the future category, she stopped using the word we. She started using I. Pennebaker's research on linguistic patterns in long relationships shows that this pronoun shift is one of the strongest predictors of separation. I'm taking some time off in the spring. I don't know what I'm doing for Christmas. I might move at some point. These signals, 1 or 2 at a time, mean almost nothing. 5 or 6 of them together, across 5 or 6 categories, is a diagnosis. Now stay with me, because the fourth piece is the trap most men fall into. There's a phase late in the process that looks like a miracle. After months or years of coldness, distance, frustration, she suddenly becomes warm again. Light, patient, almost kind. She doesn't snap at you anymore. She seems to have stopped caring about the things she used to care about. She's almost herself again, the way she was years ago. You feel hope. You think, maybe we're past it. Maybe she just needed time. This is the most dangerous signal in this entire video. Couples therapists call it post-decision relief. The decision to leave has been made. The internal grieving is complete. The weight of having to do something about her unhappiness has been lifted because the doing has been quietly scheduled. She is, in the most literal sense, saying goodbye. And when a person says goodbye internally, they're often capable of more grace than they were capable of when they were still trying. Sue Johnson has written that the moment when the withdrawn partner finally tunes in and agrees to get help may be too late. The warmth you're feeling is not the warmth of return, it's the warmth of completion. In 3 to 6 months, on average, that warm woman is going to sit you down and tell you something. And almost every man who lives through that moment describes the same retrospective sense. I should have known. The signs were everywhere, but they didn't look like signs at the time. Listen carefully to what I'm going to do now. I'm going to give you her voice, not as I imagine it, as researchers and clinicians who work with women in this stage of long marriages documented. This is what she would say if she could find the words and you were the kind of partner she trusted to hear them. I didn't decide to leave one morning. I decided in pieces, over years, after thousands of small moments when I couldn't reach you. I yelled and you didn't move. I cried and you didn't move. I asked for therapy and you said we didn't need it. I came to you with my fears about us and you told me I was overreacting. And every time, I went back into the kitchen and I tried to keep the family together, and I started to learn how to be alone inside our house. I'm not angry anymore because there's nothing left to be angry about. I'm not crying because I cried for years and it didn't change anything. I'm calm because I have made my peace with what's coming. And the woman who used to love you, I'm not punishing her by leaving. I'm rescuing her. She's been waiting a long time. That's the voice. That's the woman sitting across the kitchen from you on the Tuesday morning. That's what the calm is made of. Now the 7th thing, the diagnostic I promised. I want you to answer 3 questions, alone, in your head, right now. Not out loud. Not to her. Just to yourself. First question. When she talks about something a year from now, a trip, a holiday, a possible move, a long-term plan, what word does she use? Does she say we, or does she say I? Listen to her speech for the next 48 hours. Pay attention to the pronoun in the future tense. If she still says we, even reflexively, even when she could just as easily say I, you are not in stage 4. There is more time than you might fear. Second question. Has she, in the last 6 to 12 months, become noticeably warmer or lighter after a long period of being cold or distant? Has the fighting stopped? Has she stopped pushing back? Has she developed a sudden energy or focus that goes somewhere outside the marriage? If the answer is yes, take this seriously. Post-decision relief is one of the latest stages of the timeline. Third question. Does she still suggest therapy, counseling, or working on the relationship? Or has she stopped? And on the rare occasions you bring it up, does she say some version of, it's too late, or it wouldn't help, or we already tried? The shift from suggesting therapy to declining therapy is the bright line that separates stage 2 from stage 4. Women in stage 1 and 2 are still asking for help. Women in stage 4 have stopped asking. If the answers to your 3 questions cluster toward the early end, she says we. She's not unusually warm, she's still suggesting therapy. Your window is wider than you think. The work ahead is significant, but the foundation is intact. If the answers cluster toward the late end, she says I, she's been suddenly warm for months, she's stopped suggesting therapy. Your window is narrow, but it is not 0. And the next sentence is the most important sentence in this entire video. What does not work in any stage past 2 is the conversation you would naturally want to have. The confrontation, the asking, the explaining, the promising, the trying to convince her. What women in stage 3 and 4 have learned, painfully over years, is that men in marriages like this tend to wake up only when threatened, and the wake-up is usually followed by promises that don't translate into behavior. Her nervous system has learned to discount your words. The only thing that will reach her now is months of consistent, observable, sustained change in how you actually live in the same house with her. Not what you say, what you do. What time you come home. Where your eyes go when she walks into a room. Whether the phone gets put down. Whether you ask about her day and actually listen to the answer. Whether you do small things she stopped asking for because she gave up on asking. Whether you become, slowly, the man she was hoping you would be a long time ago. If you start that work now, immediately, and you stay with it for 6 to 12 months without expecting anything in return, there is still a real possibility that she stops the conversation she's planning to have. Not because you talked her out of it, because the data she was running on quietly changed. And if it's already too late, if she's already further along than that, the same work is also the work of becoming the man you want to be next. There is no version of this where doing this work hurts you. There is no version where becoming more present, more attentive, more honest, more emotionally available makes you a worse husband or a worse human being. Even if you've missed the window for this marriage, the man at the end of those 6 to 12 months is the man you owe your future to. So tonight, when she's standing in the kitchen, doing something completely unremarkable, get up. Don't say anything, don't make it a moment. Just walk over. Lean against the counter. Notice her, the way the light catches her hair, the way she's holding her coffee, the way she's been holding the entire shape of your life, often without you noticing, for years. And start, in your head, on the work you should have started a long time ago. Because the woman across from you might still be reachable, and she might not be. But either way, the man you become starting tonight is the only thing about this that's actually in your hands. So begin. Quietly. Now.